Welcome to Auntie Rose Narrates. Before today's story of betrayal and self-discovery, please subscribe and hit like to help these stories be heard. Drop your city or country in the comments. It always warms my heart. Now let's begin. When I woke up bald on my son's wedding day, I did not scream. I did not faint. I did not even cry. I just sat there on the edge of my bed, my feet touching the cold floor, my hands resting quietly in my lap. The room felt too quiet, like it was holding its breath. For a few seconds, I thought I was still dreaming. I lifted my hand slowly and touched my head. There was nothing there. No hair, no braids, no softness under my fingers, only skin. My heart did not race. Instead, it sank, slowly, heavily. Across the room, the mirror stood against the wall. I did not rush to it. I already knew what I would see. The early morning light slipped through the curtains. Outside, birds were singing like it was a normal day, like nothing had changed, but everything had. I stood up and walked to the mirror. Each step felt careful, as if the floor might break beneath me. The woman staring back looked older, smaller. Her eyes were wide, but calm in a painful way. On the table beside the mirror sat an envelope, white, plain, placed neatly, as if someone wanted it to be found. My hands trembled when I opened it. Inside was a single piece of paper. It read, "This is how I take control. Today's my day." That was all. No name, no apology, no explanation. I sat back down on the bed and held the paper in my hands. The meaning was clear, without any extra words. This was not a mistake. This was not a prank. This was a message. A message sent on the most important day of my son's life. In a few hours, music would play. Guests would arrive. My son would stand at the altar, smiling, and I would walk into that day bald, silent and unseen. I smiled softly, not because I was strong, but because the pain was too deep for tears. Sometimes heartbreak does not shout. Sometimes it whispers. And that morning, it whispered to me louder than anything ever had. My name is Miriam, and for most of my life, I have been a mother before I have been anything else. I gave birth to my son, Daniel, on a quiet afternoon when the sky was heavy with clouds. The rain came and went gently, as if it already knew how fragile happiness could be. When the nurse placed him in my arms, small and warm, something settled deep inside my chest. I knew, without anyone telling me, that my life would no longer belong only to me. Daniel's father died when Daniel was 6 years old. One day, he kissed us goodbye in the morning. That night, he never came back. After the funeral, the house felt too large and too silent. Daniel would walk from room to room, looking for his father without asking questions. I learned very quickly that grief does not always cry. Sometimes it just waits. I learned how to survive quietly. I worked during the day and came home tired but present. I cooked meals even when my hands shook from exhaustion. I smiled even when my heart felt heavy. I did not want my son to grow up afraid of life. I watched Daniel grow slowly, year by year. I helped with homework at the kitchen table. I listened to his stories, even when I did not understand his world anymore. At night, I checked on him before sleeping, just to make sure he was breathing. As he grew older, Daniel became gentle in a way that surprised people. He spoke softly. He listened carefully. He treated people with respect without needing to be reminded. Neighbors often told me, "You raised him well." I always answered the same way. I just loved him. When Daniel finished school and found steady work, I knew the time was coming. The time when he would step fully into his own life. I told myself I was ready, but a mother's heart does not let go easily. One evening, he came home later than usual. He sat across from me at the table, his hands folded, his voice unsure. "Mom," he said, "I met someone." I could see it in his eyes before he said her name. That softness, That careful hope. Her name was Clara. He told me about her in small pieces over the next few weeks. She was confident. She was organized. She liked things done a certain way. She knew what she wanted from life. When he finally brought her home, I cleaned the house from top to bottom. I prepared a full meal, even though my hands ached. I wanted her to feel welcome. Clara arrived dressed neatly, her hair perfect, her posture straight. She smiled, but it felt practiced, like something she had learned rather than felt. "It's nice to meet you," she said, shaking my hand instead of hugging me. Her handshake was firm, controlled. I invited her inside. I poured tea. I served warm food. She thanked me politely and spoke little. She watched more than she talked. I told myself she was simply shy. Over time, Clara visited more often. She never raised her voice. She never said anything unkind. Yet sometimes, when she thought I was not looking, I felt her eyes on me. Like she was studying something she had not yet decided how to handle. When Daniel told me they were engaged, I hugged him tightly. I felt joy and fear at the same time. Joy for his happiness, fear of losing my place in his life. I congratulated Clara and told her I was happy for them. She smiled and said thank you. The wedding planning started quickly. Clara took control of everything. She chose the colors, the flowers, the guest list, and the schedule. I offered help once gently. "Oh, don't worry," she said. "I've got it handled." So I stepped back. I reminded myself that this was her wedding, not mine. I had already had my life. This was her beginning. One evening, Daniel sat with me in the living room. He looked nervous. "Mom," he said, Clara and I were thinking, "would it be okay if we lived here after the wedding? Just for a while." I did not hesitate. "This is your home," I told him. "It always will be." Clara was standing nearby. She looked at me, then really looked at me for a long moment. "Thank you," she said. Her voice was calm, but something in her eyes made me uneasy. Still, I pushed the feeling aside. I began preparing the house. I cleared cupboards. I rearranged rooms. I imagined shared dinners and quiet evenings. I believed love would make space for everyone. But slowly, small things began to change. Clara rearranged the kitchen without telling me. She moved dishes, spices, and utensils. When I asked, she smiled. "I just like things a certain way," she said. I told myself it was nothing. She corrected me in small ways. About how to fold towels. About how food should be seasoned. About how things should look. Daniel laughed it off. "That's just Clara," he said. I smiled too. I did not want to cause problems. I did not want to seem difficult. I did not want my son to feel torn between us. So I stayed quiet, but deep inside, something shifted. The house no longer felt fully mine, and I did not yet understand that this was only the beginning. After Clara moved into the house, life did not change all at once. It changed quietly, slowly, like water leaking through a small crack in the wall. At first, I told myself I was imagining things. The mornings felt different. The kitchen felt different. Even the air inside the house felt tighter, like it did not move as freely as before. Clara woke up earlier than me most days. When I came into the kitchen, the counters were already wiped, the coffee made, the windows opened just the way she liked them. At first, I thanked her. I thought she was being helpful. "You don't have to do all this," I said one morning, smiling. She smiled back. "I don't mind. I like starting the day with order." There was nothing wrong with her words, but something in her tone made me feel like the kitchen was no longer mine to enter freely. Small rules appeared. Without being announced, certain cups were not to be used. Certain shelves were for later. Certain foods were for the weekend. When I cooked, Clara would watch quietly. Sometimes she would step in and move a spoon or lower the heat. "Oh, that might burn," she would say softly. I thanked her every time. Daniel noticed nothing. Or maybe he noticed and chose not to see. He was happy. That was clear. I told myself that happiness was fragile and must be protected, even if it meant swallowing small discomforts. But the discomforts grew. Clara started reorganizing the house more often. Not just the kitchen, the living room, the hallway closet, even my small storage cabinet. One afternoon, I came home from the market and found my old photo album stacked in a box near the door. "Oh," I said gently. "I usually keep those in the cabinet." Clara looked up from her phone. "I needed space for other things," she said. "Those are old anyway." Old. The word stayed with me. I nodded and carried the box back to my room. At dinner, conversations felt different. Clara spoke more. Daniel listened more. When I spoke, there were pauses. Not rude ones. Just long enough to make me feel out of place. One evening, I mentioned a family tradition, a simple one, about how we always sat together quietly the night before important days. Clara smiled politely. "That's sweet," she said, "but I think it's better to do something more modern." Daniel nodded. I smiled too. Inside, something cracked. As the wedding day got closer, Clara became more focused, more controlled. Everything had to be perfect. She talked about the ceremony often, how she wanted it to look, how she wanted it to feel. "I've waited my whole life for this," she said once, her voice calm but firm. I nodded. "I understand," but I wondered if she understood that this day mattered to others too. One afternoon, Clara came into my room without knocking. She looked around, her eyes moving slowly. "I think we should repaint this room after the wedding," she said. "This is my room," I replied gently. She smiled. "For now." That night, I lay awake listening to the house breathe around me. The walls creaked softly. The clock ticked loudly. I wondered when exactly I had started feeling like a visitor. Daniel still hugged me every morning. He still kissed my forehead before leaving for work, but his attention was divided now. And I did not blame him. I blamed myself for not speaking. The days passed. One evening, I overheard Clara speaking on the phone in the living room. Her voice was low but clear. "She doesn't see it yet," she said. "Yes, I know. But boundaries have to be set early." I stopped walking. I stood still in the hallway, holding my breath. "She's too attached," Clara continued. "But it won't be a problem for long." I did not hear the rest. I walked quietly back to my room and closed the door. My hands shook. That night, I cried for the first time since Clara had moved in. Not loudly, just silently, into my pillow. I still said nothing. The wedding week arrived faster than I expected. The house filled with boxes, dresses, decorations, and schedules taped to the refrigerator. Clara gave instructions calmly, like someone managing a project. Daniel followed along, smiling. I stayed out of the way. One afternoon, Clara asked me about my hair. "How are you planning to wear it for the wedding?" she asked. I smiled. I thought I'd braid it the way I always do. She looked at me for a moment. Her eyes were unreadable. "That might look a bit old-fashioned," she said. I nodded. "I'll think about it." That night, I sat on my bed and touched my hair gently. It had been with me through everything, through grief, through joy, through years of quiet strength. I decided to keep it braided. The night before the wedding was busy. People came and went. Laughter filled the house. I was tired. My body ached out before going to bed. Clara came into my room. "Tomorrow will be a big day," she said. "Yes," I replied, "it will." She looked at my hair again. Then she smiled. "Sleep well," she said. I did not notice the scissors missing from the bathroom drawer. I did not notice the door opening softly in the night. I slept deeply, unaware that while I dreamed, someone was making a final decision. I woke up before the alarm that morning. For a few seconds, everything felt normal. The ceiling above me looked the same. The light creeping through the curtains was soft and pale. Then I moved my hand. A strange chill brushed against my scalp. It felt wrong, unfamiliar. I raised my hand slowly, still half asleep, and touched my head. My fingers meant nothing. No hair. No braid. No warmth. Just skin. I sat up straight, my heart suddenly awake. I touched my head again, this time faster, like I might find my hair hiding somewhere. But there was nothing. The room felt too quiet, too still. I swung my legs off the bed and stood up slowly, my knees weak. Every step toward the mirror felt unreal, like I was walking through someone else's dream. When I reached the mirror, I stopped for a moment. I closed my eyes. I told myself to breathe. Then I opened them. The woman staring back at me looked stripped of something deeply personal. Her head was bare, smooth, exposed. My mouth opened slightly, but no sound came out. I leaned closer to the mirror, touching my scalp again, as if seeing it from a different angle might change something. It didn't. My hair was gone, not trimmed, not cut short. Gone. I looked down and noticed small strands of hair scattered on the floor near the bed. That was when the truth settled into my chest. This was done while I slept. My legs felt weak, and I sat down on the edge of the bed again. That was when I saw the envelope. It rested neatly on the small table beside the mirror, placed carefully, like it belonged there. I picked it up with shaking hands. Inside was a single piece of paper. This is how I take control. Today is my day. I read it twice. Then a third time. There was no name, but I did not need one. A strange calm came over me. Not peace, not acceptance, just stillness. I folded the paper slowly and placed it back in the envelope. I looked at myself again in the mirror. I thought about screaming. I thought about calling Daniel. I thought about knocking on Clara's door and demanding answers, but I did none of those things. Instead, I sat there quietly, listening to the house wake up. I could hear a movement in the hallway, soft footsteps, murmured voices. The wedding day had begun. I wrapped a scarf around my head, choosing a plain one from my drawer. Not to hide, just to feel covered. I washed my face. I dressed slowly. When I stepped out of my room, the house was already alive. Clara's friends moved through the hallway carrying dresses and makeup bags. Music played softly in the background. No one noticed me at first. Then Clara saw me. Her eyes went immediately to my head. For a brief moment, something crossed her face. Not surprise. Confirmation. She smiled. "Good morning," she said, her voice calm. "Good morning," I replied. She did not ask about my hair. She did not ask if I was okay. She simply turned away and continued giving instructions. Daniel came toward me, smiling brightly. "Mom," he said, "today's the day." He reached out to hug me. As his arms wrapped around me, I felt the scarf shift slightly. He paused. "Did you cut your hair?" he asked softly. I smiled gently. "Yes," I said. "Something like that." He looked confused for a second, then shrugged. "You still look beautiful," he said. I nodded. That word, beautiful, felt distant. As the morning continued, I moved quietly through the house, helping where I could, staying out of the way when I wasn't needed. No one asked questions. No one looked closely. I realized then how invisible I had become. At one point, I passed by Clara's room. The door was open. She stood in front of the mirror, her hair perfect, her dress hanging nearby. She caught my reflection in the mirror. Our eyes met. She smiled again. That smile did not reach her eyes. In that moment, I understood something very clearly. This was not an act of anger. It was an act of power. She wanted to show me my place, and she had chosen the day when I would be least likely to fight back. The ceremony began in the afternoon. Guests filled the venue. Music played. Flowers lined the aisle. I sat in the front row, my hands folded neatly in my lap. I felt the scarf against my scalp, a constant reminder. When Clara walked down the aisle, everyone stood. She looked radiant, confident, in control. Daniel looked at her like she was the only person in the world. As they exchanged vows, I watched quietly. I did not cry. I did not smile. I just listened. After the ceremony, during the reception, people came to greet me. They hugged me gently. Some looked at my head for a moment longer than necessary, then looked away politely. One woman whispered, "Are you feeling okay?" I nodded. "I'm fine," I said. Clara approached me later, holding a glass in her hand. "Thank you for everything," she said. "I hope you understand how important today is to me." I met her eyes. "I understand," I replied. She smiled, satisfied. That evening, after the guests had left and the house had gone quiet again, I sat alone in the living room. The decorations still hung on the walls. The air smelled of flowers and food. Daniel and Clara were in their room. I took off my scarf and held it in my hands. For the first time, I allowed myself to feel the weight of what had been done, not just to my hair, but to my dignity. And in that silence, I made a decision. I would not confront her tonight. I would not cause chaos, but I would no longer disappear, because sometimes the turning point in a woman's life does not come with shouting or anger. Sometimes it comes with quiet clarity. And that night, sitting alone with my bare head and my steady breath, I knew one thing for certain. This was the moment everything changed. The morning after the wedding arrived quietly. There was no music playing, no voices in the hallway, no rush. The house felt heavy, like it was tired from holding too much emotion. I woke up slowly and lay still for a few minutes, staring at the ceiling. For a moment, I almost forgot. Then the cool air touched my scalp again, and memory returned without asking permission. I sat up and took a deep breath. This time, when I touched my head, I did not pull my hand away. I let it rest there. I reminded myself that this was my body, my life, my story. I wrapped a light scarf around my head and stepped out of my room. Daniel and Clara were already awake. They sat at the kitchen table, sipping tea quietly. "Good morning, Mom," Daniel said, smiling. "Good morning," I replied. Clara looked at me briefly, then back at her cup. No one mentioned my hair. No one mentioned the note. The silence was careful, almost respectful. I made breakfast like I always did. Eggs, toast, warm tea. My hands moved on their own, steady and practiced. As I worked, I realized something surprising. I was not angry. I was tired. Tired of shrinking. Tired of staying silent. Tired of pretending that kindness meant endurance. After breakfast, Daniel went out to run an errand. The house grew quiet again. Clara stood at the sink, rinsing her cup. I dried my hands slowly and turned to face her. "Clara," I said softly. She stiffened slightly but did not turn around. "Yes?" she replied. "I would like to talk." She hesitated for a moment, then nodded. We sat at the table, facing each other. The sunlight from the window fell between us. I did not raise my voice. I did not accuse. I did not repeat the pain. I spoke calmly. "You cut my hair," I said. Her eyes lifted to meet mine. "Yes," she replied. No denial. "No apology. I want to understand why," I said. She took a breath. "I needed to set boundaries," she said. "You're too present, too important. I needed you to feel smaller." Her honesty hurt more than any lie could have. I nodded slowly. "I see," I said. She waited for more. For anger, for tears, but I gave her something else. "I will be moving out," I said. Her eyes widened slightly. "This is your home?" she said quickly. "Yes," I replied. "And that is exactly why I'm leaving." She looked confused. "I raised my son here," I continued. I loved him here, but this house no longer feels safe for my spirit. She said nothing. I forgive you, I said gently. Not because what you did was right, but because I refused to carry this pain. That was when her composure cracked. You're overreacting, she said. Her voice tight, I shook my head. No, I said. I am choosing myself. Daniel returned later that afternoon. I asked him to sit with me. I told him everything, not with drama. Not with blame, just truth. He listened quietly, his face slowly changing. Why didn't you tell me sooner? He asked. Because I didn't want to lose you, I replied. Tears filled his eyes. You won't lose me, he said. I know, I said softly, but I need to find myself again. Within a week, I packed my things, not everything, just what I needed. On my last night in the house, I walked through each room slowly. The kitchen where I cooked thousands of meals. The hallway where I measured my son's height each year. The living room where we laughed and cried. I placed my hand on the wall and whispered goodbye. I moved into a small apartment. Across town, it was quiet, simple, peaceful. The first morning there, I stood in front of the mirror without a scarf. I looked at my bare head and smiled, not because it was beautiful, but because it was honest. Slowly. My hair began to grow back. So did my strength. Daniel visits often. He hugs me longer now. Clara keeps her distance. That is okay. Some lessons do not require closeness. They require clarity. Learned that love does not mean erasing yourself. That silence can be harmful. And that dignity, once reclaimed, feels lighter than any loss. I did not lose my son. I found myself. The days that followed felt lighter. Even small things became noticeable. The way sunlight streamed through the window, the smell of fresh laundry, the quiet hum of the city outside my new apartment. I began to notice myself again. I walked slowly through my routines, savoring small victories. Making tea in the morning, sitting by the window with a book, listening to the soft sounds of life continuing outside. My hair grew back slowly. Each strand felt like a tiny reminder of resilience, of patience, of quiet strength. Daniel called often. He brought flowers sometimes. He shared small stories about his new life with Clara, and I listened, as I always did, with love, but without fear or anxiety. We found a new rhythm. He was happy. I was learning to be happy again, too. I thought a lot about Clara, not with anger, not with bitterness, but with clarity. Sometimes people will try to control what is not theirs. Sometimes they will overstep boundaries to prove a point, and sometimes they will not see the pain they leave behind. That is not our fault. It is life, and life teaches us lessons in strange, painful ways. I walked through the park one afternoon, feeling the breeze on my scalp, and smiled. I remembered the morning of the wedding, the shock, the emptiness, the quiet ache of betrayal, and yet I also remembered the choice I made that day. Not to yell, not to cry in anger, but to reclaim myself. That choice had made all the difference. I have learned that self-respect cannot be borrowed. It cannot be taken away. It must be held tightly, protected, nurtured. No matter what others do, even in heartbreak, there is a way forward. I thought about my son. He loved me. He always would. And that love was enough to remind me that family can endure even the most difficult moments. Sometimes, the people we care for will make mistakes. Sometimes they will hurt us without intending to. But forgiveness is not about them. It is about freeing ourselves. I had forgiven Clara. I had forgiven the situation. And most importantly, I had forgiven myself for ever doubting my worth. That evening, I sat by the window with a cup of tea. The city lights twinkled softly. The air smelled faintly of rain. I closed my eyes and breathed deeply. I felt peace. I had survived. I had grown. I had learned, and I knew one truth. no matter what life takes from you. Your dignity, your heart, and your spirit are yours to keep. No one can take those away unless you allow it. Sometimes the hardest lessons are the most beautiful. They show us who we truly are. They show us how strong we can be. And they remind us that even after betrayal, hurt, and loss, hope can return. I smiled again, quietly. This time, it was not a smile of sadness. It was a smile of knowing I was whole. I was free, and I was ready for whatever life might bring next.